Greetings and welcome, everybody, to this week's episode of UC Weekly News. I'm your host, David Danto, and I have with me Torben Christiansen from EPOS Audio. I ran into EPOS at Infocom recently, and they had some very interesting science around this, what they're doing with audio, and I learned a lot about what they're doing with video as well. But Torben, why don't we start with you introducing yourself? Tell everybody who you are and what you do in our industry.
Yeah, hi, David. Thank you very much to be able to join your interview here today. Yeah, I'm from EPOS Audio, and I have been in the industry for 24 years. I actually started in 2000 after my master's, where I did some research about the brain, what is active in the brain when you need to do motoric learning. And then I have been in the company ever since. But the last 12 years, we have been focusing on research, what is going on in our brain when we have to process audio. And I think this is some of the topics we're going to discuss today because it's pretty exciting, I think.
Absolutely. So before we do that, neither you nor I are marketing for EPOS, so we're just going to talk about scratching the surface. But if people are not familiar with the brand, EPOS was originally an offshoot from Sennheiser headsets, new ownership, different company, but that's where it came from. That's where the organization started about. Remind me, was it 3 years ago, 4 years ago, roughly, when that happened?
Yeah, we basically I started in a company called Demand, which is doing medical devices, hearing aids, etc. And this is a really technology-wise heavy business where you have a lot of skilled people. And they found together with Sennheiser and made a joint venture back then in 2003. And then in 2020, 4 years ago now, we decided to split because the company has grown so much that it didn't match the setup. And then we decided that Demand, the hearing aid company, would take back all 100%. So that's the history in very short.
That's perfect. That's exactly the information people needed. And right now, EPOS Audio is making multiple kind of headsets, including one that just won an award at Infocom. And you're also making video conference devices. I know you have an MTR system and some other things. So,
yeah.
So
we do the camera. We do the camera I do right now. We do speakerphones. We do video, and we do the headset that I'm wearing today, which I will play a little bit around with to show you something. Yeah.
Awesome. That's a great introduction. So why should I know about, as a unified communication professional, why should I understand the science of audio as it relates to wearing headsets and communicating?
Yeah, so now we get started. It's a pretty exciting stuff. So I have prepared some slides where we can dig into and talk a little about it. And on slide 1, which shows how our hearing system is working, it starts that we have audio coming through air. It's vibrations in air, and it will come to us. It will come to our ears, and then in the ear, it will be transformed into neural signals that goes to the brain. So there's a lot of study and a lot of research that has been done over the last 100 years about how is the ears working, how do we, the best possible way, get these signals to the brain. But what the new stuff here is that the latest years we have done research in how is the brain then treating these signals, what is actually important for the brain. Because the brain is actually a fantastic, quite unique piece of equipment, if you can call it that, especially when it comes to audio. It can do some tricks that you don't think about in your daily life, but it can actually do a lot of, for example, noise reduction. If you hear an irritating tone, a toot along the time, all the way, if you just hear that and then over time, your brain will actually not hear it anymore. It can actually dampen this out naturally. It needs some effort to do so, but it can actually do quite a lot. So the point is then, our research that's going on, when we get these neural signals and they come to the brain, we have found out the brain needs to do three things in order for us to be able to use the audio. So first thing it needs to do is if there's more sources of audio, it could be you talking to me in a room or at a fair, but also other people's talking around. It could be in an open office. Then my brain needs to identify, actually orient who is talking to me, who do I want to listen to, and then actually the brain will zoom in and focus on that person. So if it's you, David, I would actually recognize your speech my brain will kind of tune into and really pay attention to when you talk and nothing else. So if I can help the brain orient to focus on the right stuff, then I can also recognize what is said. And it sounds very easy. It is actually basic, because this is what we do. What is going on? Who is talking to me? And what are you saying? And when we get to that stage, you can also use the audio and you can remember what was said and you can do something about it.
We do it all without thinking.
Yeah. And if you don't reach that state, you cannot find meaning in audio. So the goal is, of course, that we get the audio all the way there so that we can use it for something, but only the audio that matters, that we need to hear. And what we strive to in EPOS is then to make it as easy for the brain as possible to get to that stage. That means we need to figure out how to focus, how to orient yourself to who is talking, how to then to do the focus, etc. I can, if you want, I can show a short example of it, how it actually works in reality.
Sure.
So if I'm wearing this headset right now that we have done, which is the top of the pops, the premium stuff we can do with all the brain adapt, which we call these technologies built into it. So in the boom arm tip here, there's some technologies trying to focus on when I'm talking. This is the orientation. I need to know what is going on and then actually zoom in on my speech. And then you could say, well, easy stuff, because you are always here. But I'm not always there. Because I can also move the boom arm and up and down, and then my voice should keep kind of calm and steady, and the system should adapt to it. But if I move it too far away.
Yes, now you're completely muted.
So it is actually trying to zoom in on the mouth, but if it gets too obscure, then it will not transmit anything and select for you, right? If I clap my hand, I don't know if you can hear the things around, if you can hear the reverb of the room. It should actually be able to take away if people are walking around and laughing, etc. I think actually some of our people took it to the Aston Martin Formula One garage. And it should then remove the Formula One, which it could do, but it was a really hard job. But you could actually have a conversation next to a Formula One car. But if we turn back to how the brain works, so the point is that we do some systems which make it easier for the brain to work, and that means that the brain can actually do other stuff. And that is also something we did a study about, doing two things at the same time. You could say that what is then the employees in the different companies, what do they get out of it, having a good headset? If you don't have to spend so much energy and about, it can be the microphone path, but it could also be ANC systems that blocks out the surroundings for me. So I get that benefit. Then I can actually stay focused longer. And people don't think about it, and they want us to show a wow effect. Hey, can you show me right now? But actually, I can show you over the day. It's the savings of energy spent over the day that will you'll go home more happy. You can meet your family or your friends and do more afterwards.
I've never understood companies that spend a lot of money, and believe me, it's a lot of money, on collaboration systems and unified communication systems, contact center software, and all this, and then look for the least expensive headset to put on the operator's head, because it's a filter. It all goes through that weakest link in the chain, and if it's not producing quality audio in both directions, then you've wasted the investment in all the rest of the technology.
Yeah, but think about it. I mean, if I can just make you work more efficiently for a couple of minutes per day, 5 minutes, 4 minutes, if you add that up, then try to calculate how fast do you get your money back for that investment. I mean, if you go to our office in Denmark, you can go and you can take any chair in any meeting room, and it will cost the double of a headset, So in some spaces, you are willing to pay, you know the cost, but for somehow in some companies, the route out to the customers, they don't pay as much attention. And
I'm
we would,
not something
yeah,
I've really ever understood, and it's not just
no.
your headsets. It's generally universal. And now you have people that think that the consumer earbuds that come with their smart devices are something that they can use for collaboration, and it doesn't sound good and it doesn't work well.
No, that it'll take some time before we get there with these ones. I promise you. And I think these tools can be used if you cannot wear a headset like this. If you are on the run, or if you are, I mean, then you can get the best out of that. But the technologies in these systems are still not really mature. But we work in that direction. We would like to provide people with systems where they can work everywhere.
Now
But
you've got some
yeah.
science, some results of a research that you did around how much better your headsets perform in certain circumstances, right?
Yeah, we have the results from the study about dual tasks. And actually, what it says is that the listening effort, that means that the effort your brain is using to try to understand what is said, is reduced with 65%. It's not 1%, it's not 2%, it's 65. So it's, and it will vary from incident of noise to the other. But, maybe it's 50% for some cases, maybe it's 70%, but it is a double-digit thing. And double-digit thing just means that you, as a user of the headset, you will save important energy during the day.
So, and how many different headsets?
Yeah.
How many different headsets is EPOS making that would be applicable for these numbers? How many different models?
Oh, there's many models if you count everything with country and variants and everything. But I think it's around 4 at the moment. But of course, the Impact 1000 that I'm wearing right now was the first. It's the high end, and then we are working on different variants where we can apply the technologies. Not all platforms has all the same energy, so we apply maybe some of it. But that will be, I mean, if you go to our web page, you can follow and see what kind of benefit you get. For example, the second number that is very astonishing is speech recognition in noise. I mean, we do some tests in a lab with controlled noise. And of course, this is a little bit harsh because not all users have that kind of noise all day. But, if what is happening for me, at least, is every time I sit in the office, now I'm hiding out in my garden in a closed room. But if I sit in the office, I can be sure that when I have an important call, there will come somebody talking around me and not being aware of me talking over the phone. And extremely in these points, you simply you miss out almost 50% of what is said if you don't use a good headset. And 50%, well, maybe it only happens sometimes a day, but one time a day at the wrong point in time, you will miss out if you get a salary raise or if they lower your salary,
Well, I don't know if you can make that direct a correlation, but I do understand. I mean, one of the problems in the industry is we're talking about factors of productivity, and there has never really been a good objective measure of productivity. A lot of technology for companies is sold based on how much it will improve productivity, but it's sort of a how high is up kind of question. There is no measure. But at least the science shows that there is significant improvement when you use the right technology.
Yeah, and we try to be extremely conservative when we try to communicate these productivity numbers because everybody has different things. The good thing is that the numbers are so high that I hope that everybody can relate to. Well, it will also affect them somehow in their environment. Can I just explain with the task we did? Because actually, it tells maybe more than the numbers what is at stake here. So the task was that you had to do 2 things at the same time. And 2 things, well, these AI days doesn't sound like a lot, right? You can get 90 pages of Russian copied to another language if you want to in 2 seconds or something. So 2 tasks, how difficult can it be? But I think actually most of you, if you think a little bit, you can find situations in your daily life where you have trouble doing 2 tasks, where one of them is listening for speech. I have an example from my life. I am the cook in our home, and in our home, the rule is the one cooking is also doing the dishes. So that's reward you get if you do the cooking. So I do the dishes in the kitchen, and when my wife comes in and goes behind my back and starts talking, my hands, they move slower because I need to understand what she's saying. Else I know I get a task I don't like. So, and that is so simple. And there's not even a lot of noise maybe. I just need to do two things at the same time. So if you now imagine that we try to simulate that you are in a meeting. So you are in a meeting, there is some noise around, and now you need to understand what is said. At the same time, you maybe have to write notes, which is typical for me. I cannot remember a full meeting, or for the next question you want to ask. So you have these two tasks, and then we made the test in the lab. Try to understand what a talker is telling you in noise, and at the same time, you get a visual task. Something is happening on a screen, and you need to react to it. Okay? Without going deeper into that, it's actually, you can find the study on our homepage, and it's actually pretty complex, and it's nice. But what happens is, when you have noise around you and you don't have a good headset blocking these noises, you have the task to understand the speech, have a pause, and then repeat what was said. That means you need to be able to orient yourself in the sound, focus on the ones talking, and recognize what was said. You need the full chain of thing, else you cannot repeat it afterwards. Then at the same time, you are told, as fast as possible, hit a button on the keyboard, but the right button according to the visual. So what happens in noise is that people they don't hit the button very fast. They try to capture what is said. They try to focus all the system. Once they have grabbed this, they react, hit the button, and then it goes. Then they have a break, and then the most astonishing thing is coming. Now there's no speech anymore, no nothing. Then their brain starts working again, processing the audio they have stored and reconstructing the words they missed out. They do this for seconds, and then there's a break. Then they have to repeat, and they can only repeat 60, 40, 50%. When you have if you have protection for the noise in the good manner, what you do is you orient yourself so fast that you can hit the button, you orient yourself to take in the audio. When you have the break in between, you don't process audio. So now imagine that somebody else will start talking in that period, and you have to reconstruct. Then there will be a chain reaction of missing out. We didn't even calculate that into it.
And all of that detail is on the webpage that people can look at how the survey was done?
Yeah, on eposaudio.com. You can find it all. And it's called the Brain Adapt, the technology and the research we do as a combined. And there will be there's some white papers there. They are pretty... They go pretty deep, and they have all been presented and accepted at conferences in the research area. And we are constantly uploading more. We have just uploaded one proving the performance of the microphone, which it's actually more complex in that sense because it's a benefit that goes in collaboration. So how fast can you and I solve a task if we have a good headset or if we have a bad headset? So this is the efficiency actually together with the customer. So how fast can you deal with the customer if it's that relation, get the right things, understand it, and then make the service for the customer while you're also sounding professional. That we also don't count in. It's also good that you sound nice if you are there.
Yeah, that's a consideration as well. If the headset actually performs and makes people sound good, that works too. But the science is fascinating, Torben. I appreciate you coming on and telling people about it. If somebody wants to reach out to you to ask you any questions, how should they get in touch with you?
Yeah, just reach out to me on LinkedIn, and I will reply back. Just you can write that you saw this interview and you want to connect. I'll be happy to do so. And then I'll forward you or link you to places where you can find stuff, if that's okay. And everything is actually also on our homepage, www.eposaudio.com. Right?
Torben, thank you very much for the time. I do appreciate you coming in and telling us all about the science. And thank you very much for watching every week. We do appreciate it. We will see you next week on UC Weekly News. Take care.